Feuchamaich Beagan Scots the Celtic podcast. Kimraha Huladunya, how is everyone? On today's show in Feuchamaich Beagan Gaidhlig, that's Let's Try Little Gaelic. Lesson 19, it's all about when. In Celtic history, Fort Connah and its tie to Scotland. In everyday Celtic ways. The Confessions of Isobel Gowdie, Part 2. We're going to hear music from Rachel Walker, the Gowdie sisters, Jamie McGeechan, Really Jiggard, and Steve MacDonald. Learn the history of Gaelic songs as you learn to sing them. Gaelic and English lyrics are provided to give you a deeper understanding of the song, to guide you when you're learning, or just sit back and enjoy these beautiful songs. Welcome to Learn a Gaelic Song. Today's song is Alistair a Glenna Gaidhlig by Rachel Walker. Now this song is about Alistair Dhu, Alistair the Black, who was a chief of the MacDonalds of Glengarry between 1705 and 1721. He led the MacDonald army fighting with Graham of Claverhouse in the Battle of Killiecrankie in 1689. He is best known for his bravery fighting on the Jacobite side at the Battle of Sheriff Muir in 1715 rebellion. Now this song was written by Julia MacDonald, a Silas na Kepach, who was born about 1660 and died about 1729. She was the daughter of the chief of the MacDonalds of Kepach and Lochaber, Archibald of Kepach, who died in 1682. Now, Silas na Kepach, Julia, is known as the main poet in the 1715 rebellion, and that was the first attempt by the Jacobites to gain control of Britain for James Stewart. Alright, remember, Gaelic at the top, English at the bottom. Get ready.
Alistair a Glenna Gaidhlig, who kunju gallein mohulen, spekjernich mi vitram chreachgach, gertrich gar reipag as orshin, stiach gar gose figen os nich metan os gichen mocharstjöv, gertrich gen je karnje gaidhlig, taich nan daragus arstjöv. Chael sinjen an agus cola, dal a vach sa vraher, Ketten fagen vi gad gedan, gan mach ich gelens na vlad oin. Chael sin dara gladjer via glas, vakumel gien er a charstjöv. Kachpel kadje varne gusich, Shoak sugar on the for latcher. But du kjauner kail sir card, Aunskach groch am bikuram. Agi haljer halt a hlach kvor, Kria fil farsing man hunjach. But du roen a sar gashkoch ar gola heichges du a buel. Lo an smedal fedal femel, Kelm fech gechail shemes juarst. But toen lasse jera gan loskech, but du skolt a giet gan salchev, but du kudacha, but du lech gan a glaiva, but du bratan ans a nirusk firien an jan les arstje, but du lo an had gach beach, but du davlehan a kraichke. Goyim danem a visaval, John a chadder gauns an udu. Goyim sonne ser na gaku, Au na dados au na guich. Goyim do vach kvi na dadje, Au nan saivre saun an kuram. Alistair Clown Gaidhlig, Hukun Jugal, Ed Mohulan.
Celtic history brings you the tales of the land, castles, warriors, heroes, legends, and customs that have created the rich, vibrant, and sometimes strange and wonderful history of the Celtic world. Alright, this story is taken from a story in the Clandonald USA newsletter. It was written by Linda A. Harlow, the High Commissioner of Clandonald USA. As Scots, we love talking about our history, but we don't spend much time discussing the stories of our diaspora, the people who have spread or been dispersed from their homeland. Now, Clandonald USA, along with the Olde Scot, is a part of that diaspora, and passing on those stories should be our mission. Now, I know it is mine, and Clandonald's. Now, this is a story of Angus MacDonald, who left Scotland to take a chance, and that would bring him into a new land with new adventures. Angus MacDonald was born in 1816 in Craig, Scotland, near the north shore of Loch Torridon, a scenic wildland. Now, Glencoe, which was the original and more ancient family home site, kind of had that rugged, moody beauty resembling the Montana's Mission Valley, where Angus and his family would ultimately settle and become a major figure in the valley's history. Now, his parents left the farm and moved to Dingwall, where Angus went to school for a short time and then worked as a clerk. He joined the Hudson Bay's Company in 1838 and soon set sail to York Factory by Hudson Bay in Canada. The York Factory was the company's primary trading center for that region. Now, he'd spent several years learning the trade and the protocol of the company, and later gained a position with more authority. His first station was in the Northwest Territory at Fort Colville. It was one of the largest forts in the Columbia River drainage. It was the supply post for other forts in the region as well, and it is now, unfortunately, at the bottom of Grand Coulee Dam. The manager of the fort was Archibald MacDonald, Angus's great uncle. Now, under the supervision of Archibald, his efforts led to the founding of the Puget Sound Agricultural Company. After a short period at Fort Colville, Angus was sent into the Snake District to work with Francis Ermiger. Now, he was noted as a man who was equal to any free trapper, especially in swilling whiskey or foul language. Ermiger was a good trapper and taught his young protege well. He taught him a great deal about the Snake District's fur trade. Now, in the 1840s, things started to change, though. The U.S. wanted control of all the land from coast to coast. Now, Britain had first occupancy, and the Hudson's Bay Company had buildings, property, and have had control of that area in the Northwest and its fur trade for well over 100 years. The Oregon Treaty of 1846 set the boundary line between the U.S. and Canada. However, Angus's life would change even more, especially during this period. He became a family man. He married a woman named Catherine, who was a Nez Perce Iroquois woman. They were married at Fort Hall in 1842, and in 1854, Angus and Catherine had their marriage solemnized by a Jesuit priest. Now, Catherine's families were leaders of the Nez Perce people. Two of them were Eagle of Light and Whitebird. Her Mohawk French father, Baptiste, participated in the War of 1812 on the British side, and in 1847, Angus and Catherine and two children left for Fort Hall for a new assignment in the Mission Valley of what is now Montana. Now, Angus's first job was to complete construction of a newly located fort that was his predecessor, Neil MacArthur. He had begun building the fort. When completed, the post was no longer called Fort Flathead. or Flathead House. It was renamed Fort Connah after a river in Scotland. Now, Connah unfortunately transferred into Connah for easy pronunciation of the locals. Angus and Catherine had 12 children, several of whom continued to live in the Mission Valley, and many of their descendants still live there. Fort Connah, 1846 to 1871, a minor trading post of the Hudson Bay's Company, was established among the friendly Kootenai Pen Oral, also known as the Kalispel, and the Salish Indians, also known as the Flathead. Because the local Indians hunted deer, elk, and buffalo on all the Great Plains east of the Continental Divide, they provided items in constant demand by the company, such as buffalo robes, heavy coats, and the like, rawhide cords, saddle blankets, and hair cords, all of which were necessities in the transportation of the Bay Company's goods on horseback. Now, many of Angus's descendants are still working hard to keep the fort operational and keeping the history alive. Angus's great-grandson, Dr. Joe MacDonald, is the former president of Salish Kootenai College. He is also the former president of the Fort Connah Restoration Society that maintains the fort and the trading post to this day.
life he shed, leaving the throne to the sons of Summerland.
Everyday Celtic Ways brings you the mythology, traditions, and customs that have created a unique and personal culture that still affects those that are Celtic and those that just love the Celtic world. Confessions of Isobel Gowdie, Part 2. Worn down by the pressures of interrogation and hoping for leniency, the poor woman, Isobel Gowdie, is likely to have told them whatever they wanted to hear. Recent psychology studies into the phenomenon of false confession show that people can develop false memories. Fatigue and sleep deprivation impair decision-making and increase suggestibility. Simply changing the way a question is asked can succeed in influencing a person's memory of an actual event. Memories may become implanted, and the suspect may begin to believe the confession him or herself. Extended sleep deprivation can lead to hallucinations, at which point the interrogators would take this as evidence that the accused was in league with the devil. Now, it is likely that Isobel may have developed false memories of having performed some of the crimes alleged against her. Consequently, Isobel's confession contained many of the standard witch confession epitomes of the time, such as claiming to have made a pact with the devil, or performing harmful magic or maleficium, and attending the witch's Sabbath. These aspects of her confession are likely to have been derived from leading questions by the prosecution. However, parts of Isobel's confession are so unique, so vivid and personalized, that they could only have come from Isobel herself. While some of her confession is rich in folkloric detail, for example, her descriptions are dominated by maleficum or the use of malicious magic, following many of the standard rituals found in other witch trials. She attempted to destroy her neighbor, Breedley's crops, by taking a child's body from the grave and using it as part of an incantation. However, her account of spoiling crops using a puttock or a frog plow so that afterwards only thistles and briars would grow is unique. Like many other witches, Isobel claimed to have performed image magic, where she used effigies of the Laird of Park's male offspring to cause them harm, death, or suffering. Where she differed from other trials is in the extensive detail of how she kneaded the clay for the figure. She would say she kneaded it very hard like rye meal, and then she gave it her all. All of the marks and parts of a child were included in the clay figures, such as heads, eyes, nose, hands, foot, mouth, even little lips. And that the hands of it folded down by its side like a scone or a suckling pig, she said. The effigies were then burnt and a chant recited. Maleficium was also directed at the minister of Aldern, Harry Forbes, with spells being invoked to inflict illness and torture on the man. Harry Forbes, it seems, was a religious zealot with a fear of witchcraft. Shortly after his arrival in Aldern in 1655, he had confided in Alexander Brodie, the main landlord in the area, that he had been the victim of witchcraft. A surge in awareness of witchcraft, as recorded in the diaries of Brodie throughout the area, seems to coincide with his arrival, and then seems to have dissipated after his departure in 1663. Now, Harry Forbes was present at all of Isobel Gowdie's confessions, and it seems all too probable that he was one of the key players in having Isobel indicted. Isobel also claimed to have transformed herself into a jackdaw, and along with other members of her coven who had transformed themselves into cats and hares, visited Alexander Cummings' dye works, where they used knot magic to turn his dye black. Ugh. During her first confession, she gave an account of her first encounter with the devil. She arranged to meet him in the kirk at Aldern at night, naming some of the others who were in attendance, including Janet Breadhead and Margaret Brodie. She said that she renounced her baptism and was rebaptized by the devil, who promptly renamed her Janet, where she differs from the confessions of others is in the detailing of how the devil put his mark on her shoulder, then sucked her blood. Having admitted to entering into a pact with the devil, she then disclosed that she had carnal relations with him, kissed his behind, and that she met with him in groups as well as her own. This is a standard fare in a witch trial. Where she differs is the salacious details of her encounters with the devil, whom she described as being very cold. Allegedly, he had forked and cloven feet, which he sometimes covered with boots or shoes. Now, perhaps even more remarkable are Isobel's depictions of fairy-related activities. She claimed that she feasted under the local fairy hill, the Downy Hill, the site of an Iron Age fort, with the fairy king and queen, the king being a braw man, well-favored and broad-faced, and the queen broadly clothed in white linens. She also expressed her fear of the water bulls, which she encountered there. Isobel claimed, transformed into the likeness of a crow, she sneaked into the cellars and kitchens of local castles and houses to eat their food, steal ale from barrels, and perform magic rituals. She claimed that she had traveled into the elves' house, where she saw hollow and boss-backed elf boys whittling elf arrowheads, and perhaps more bizarrely of that, she and her companions charmed corn straws and windle straws into horses, and then crying, "Horse and haddock in the devil's name," flew through the air, shooting elf arrows at passerbys. As they had no bows, the arrows were fired using a flick of the thumb. Isobel claimed that her coven had killed with these arrows, as death was inevitable if struck by one of them. Throughout her dramatic testimony, Isobel recounts no less than 27 charms, the majority of which are unique in British folklore. She chronicles instances of sickness transferal, where an individual is cured by diverting their illness into someone or something else. Isobel describes a ritual whereby a sickness is diverted from a bewitched child into a cradle belt and finally into a cat or a dog. Some have suggested that Isobel Gowdie may have been a magical practitioner, with her claims to have performed charms and rituals to cure fevers and broken bones, signifying that she functioned as some kind of wise woman, who in the absence of doctors saw to the medical needs of the poor. It is conceivable that Isobel may have performed some of her magical rites through the medium of dream or trance, in a manner that can be loosely termed as shamanic, though it could be that Isobel's more fantastic claims were memories of shamanic acts undertaken prior to arrest that were retrieved during interrogation and mingled with folkloric belief, demonological stereotype, and real-life experience to form the complex picture that became her testimony. Remember, she had gone through a very intense interrogation, lots of sleep deprivation, so that mixed with all this information in her mind could perform and produce some powerful hallucinations. Now, after at least 6 grueling weeks of incarceration and interrogation, the panel of interrogators felt that they had secured enough evidence to secure a conviction against Isobel Gowdie. They applied to the Privy Council in Edinburgh seeking a commission of judiciary for a local trial to be held. Isobel's confessions, as well as those of Janet Bredhead, were sent with the request, according to Wilby. It is probable that the confessions arrived in Edinburgh during the middle of June 1662. The register for the Privy Council for July contains an entry instructing the sheriffs of Nairn, Sir Hugh Campbell of Calder, to arrange local trials for both women. Now, there is no record of Isobel being executed, although it is not unusual. In 90% of Scottish witch trials, the outcome is unknown as the records no longer exist. It seems likely that Isobel Gowdie and Janet Bredhead would have been found guilty at a local trial held in mid-July. Following the verdict, they would have been transported by cart to Gallow Hill on the outskirts of Nairn, where they would have been strangled and burnt. The burning of the deceased body was to ensure that no post-mortem sorcery could occur. The execution would have been a public affair, with the whole community forced to attend. During the course of her confession, Isobel Gowdie implicated another 12 people as witches, the members of her coven. Janet Breadhead implicated 3 times as many people as Isobel, though. What happened to these wretches, we'll never know. We do know that Isobel's husband was not involved, with Isobel declaring that she left a broom in the bed. Isobel Gowdie has passed into both legend and history, and yet there are some who say that she is the Green Lady who still haunts the area around Aldern today. I'm sure that her fantastically horrific detailed confessions were a shock to those interrogating her, as most witches brought to trial were condemned on flimsy and manufactured evidence. Isobel Gowdie gave her interrogators volumes of evidence against her and the names of her entire coven. She gave her interrogators details into witchcraft as if she was bragging about her abilities. She was unapologetic even unto death, which sent shivers down the spines of the church leadership who thought they may have just witnessed a woman in league with Satan, for real.
There's no need to know it all. Dancing with the autumn trees. Now's the time. will carry on.
You have seen content from Olde Scot before, but this is special. This new book of mine is a work from my heart. So please watch the video. It is my hope that you'll buy the book and love it as much as I do. And thank you for watching Olde Scot. The West Highland Way in Scotland is a hiking dream for Jamie MacDonald and his daughter Neve. His upcoming divorce has made it impossible for him to make ends meet on his inadequate pay as an armored truck driver. When his daughter dies in a car accident, his whole world is torn apart. What would you do to fulfill your dead daughter's dream when you have nothing left to live for? The West Highland Way by Jeffrey MacDonald. Scottish Gaelic is native to the Gaels of Scotland. Scottish Gaelic developed out of the Old Irish, and learning this beautiful language can be a direct link to your Gaelic ancestors. Follow along in Feuchamaich Beagan Gaidhlig, and like I said, let's try a little Gaelic. Fáilte ye Olde Scots, Introduction to Scottish Gaelic. Kimra hula dunya, how is everyone? Alright, check it out. You already know how to say, welcome to and how is everyone? Now please remember that I am not an authority on the Gaelic language, I just love learning it and want to pass it on to you. What I present comes from well-respected Gaelic teachers, so I hope you will find it interesting, informative, and fun. And as always, I display everything on the screen so you can follow along. Feuchamaich. Alright then, get ready.
But we're in lesson 19, and it's all about the when. All right, we're going to start off with, we got a bunch of vocabulary in this one, because really it's just a bunch of words you need to learn. All right, we got la, which is day, oiche, night, matin, morning, fesker, afternoon, nok, tonight, and ju, today, and J, yesterday. Erir, last night. Alright, Von J, the day before yesterday. Matin and J, yesterday morning. Fesker and J, yesterday evening or afternoon. Fesker can mean the evening or afternoon. Marduk, tomorrow. And Ath Oiche, tomorrow night. An air, the day after tomorrow. Tra, which is early, and Fadalak, which is late. All right, Jeshel, which is ready. Fada, which is long. Gorlich, short. Fad and La, all day long. Fad and Esker, all afternoon long. Fad Nahoiche, all night long. Shakten, week. And Ath Shakten, next week. All right, and Shak Sechai, which means last week, or it literally means the week that went. Kolajiag, a fortnight, which is, a fortnight is actually 2 weeks. Mias, a month. And Athvias, next month. Avias Sakai, last month. Bliana, a year. And Athvliana, next year. And early, last year. All right. We're going to give you some examples. We're going to give you them in Gaelic and in English, of course. And first one is ha Fim acum dancig and ath oichia. I need to dance tomorrow night. Hashin a fakkel tra an ath matin. We are leaving early tomorrow morning. Kacharo a hunyev and jay. Where was the meeting yesterday? Koviet Leichin of Mias Show. How many days this month? Vel Ujesho. Are you ready? Bimi Fadlak Anok. I will be late tonight. Alrighty. Just some examples there. And now we're going to give you 6 sentences, as always, to translate into English, a little practice. So we'll start off with number 1. An Savatin Hamiadol Yanvu. 2. Matin Anje Vami Anan Beaten. 3. Bliana Ma'ur or Bliana Va'ur. 4. Hamiadol Anambala Fadan La. 5. Anath Yakten Hamiadol Yaki. 6. Vamiageri T Arer Hamiak Ol T and Jew.
Is there for on his poverty that hangs his head, and oh, that the coward slave we pass him by, we dare be paid for all that, for all that, and oh, that our toils obscure, and oh, that the rank is but the guinea stamp, the man's a gowd for all that. What thou unhamely fare we dine, were hard and grey and all that. You fools are silks and knaves are wine, a man's a man for all that. For all that and all that, their tinsel showed and all that. The honest man who else he pair is king of men for all that. You see yon Berkey, ca the Lord, was struts and stairs and all that. Though hundreds worship at his might, he's but a coof for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that. The man who independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. Is there for on his poverty that hangs his head and all that? The coward slave we pass him by, we dare be paid for all that. For all that and all that, our toils obscure and all that. The rank is but the guinea stamp, the man's a gowd for all that. For all that and all that, it's common yet for all that. That man to man the world shall brothers be for all
If you're already a subscriber to the Ye Olde Scot YouTube channel and enjoy the variety of interesting videos and podcasts that we produce weekly, then you should join us on the Ye Olde Scot Facebook group. Not only do you get all the great videos you already enjoy, but so much more. Come and connect with your Celtic community here on Ye Olde Scot Facebook group.
Goodbye, Apple Baby. Masha Weave.
Goodbye, everybody. But I'm going to let you go with a song.